authorities have said that a Chinese fighter jet carried out an aggressive maneuver near U.S. military plane over the South China Sea in the international airspace. The U.S. Defense Department released a video that showed a fighter jet passing in front of the U.S. planes and the cockpit of the RC-135 shaking in the turbulence. In a statement, the United States Military Command responsible for the Indo-Pacific said that the Chinese J-16 aircraft carried out the maneuver last week and forced the U.S. RC-135 plane to fly through its wake turbulence. During a press conference on Tuesday, the UN nuclear chief Rafael Grossi said that the world is fortunate a nuclear accident has not happened in Ukraine yet. The Zaporizhzhia power plant in Ukraine is one of the 10 biggest nuclear plants in the world. Grossi asked Ukraine and Russia to avoid any attack on the plant or militarizing the facility. He also stressed on securing the plant's external power supply and protecting the nuclear reactor safety systems from any further attacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that the authorities in Kyiv were not doing enough to protect citizens during air raids. In a video address, Zelensky said it was the responsibility of specific officials for citizens to increase the availability of shelters during the airstrikes. Zelensky's comments come amid Russia's latest airstrike on Tuesday, leaving 4 dead and 34 injured. North Korea's satellite launch on Wednesday ended in a failure after the rocket's second stage malfunctioned, sending the craft plunging into the sea. North Korean state media said, according to the news agency, the new Sholema first satellite launch rocket failed due to instability in the engine and the fuel system. The launch was the country's 6th satellite launch attempt and the first since 2016. Sirens were triggered in Japan and South Korea on Wednesday following the launch of a satellite in North Korea. The residents in South Korea received mobile phone alerts, while the Japanese government issued an emergency warning over its J-Alert broadcasting system for the residents of the southern Okinawa region. The authorities later lifted the warnings after North Korea confirmed the launch of their reconnaissance satellite. North Korean news agencies later confirmed that the launch resulted in a failure as the satellite crashed into the sea. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol hosted the country's first summit with the leaders of Pacific Islands on Monday, as Seoul sought to strengthen its influence in a region that has become the focus of intense geopolitical rivalry. South Korean and the Pacific Islands leaders agreed to strengthen development and security cooperation after a 2-day summit where Seoul said it would double development assistance by 2027. Yoon launched his administration's Indo-Pacific strategy last year, pledging to foster a free, peaceful and prosperous region built on a rules-based order amid concerns over China's security ambitions for the strategic waters and the economic leverage among the small island states. Indigenous groups in Brazil on Tuesday blocked a highway and burned tires to demonstrate a proposed law that says an indigenous group could only have their lands recognized if they were occupying the land before 1988. That is when Brazil's constitution came into effect. But according to the activists and the indigenous leaders, many indigenous people had already been expelled from their lands before this date. And the new bill would increase the problem of logging and mining outside Sao Paulo, which is Brazil's largest city. The demonstrators blocked a major motorway with flaming tires and used bows and arrows to confront the police. who dispersed them with tear gas. Tech billionaire Elon Musk expressed his willingness to expand his business in China as he met Chinese Foreign Minister Xi Kang in Beijing on his first trip to the country in over 3 years. Musk said he was willing to continue to expand its business in China, according to a foreign ministry readout in which he also reportedly stressed Tesla's opposition to the economic decoupling with the United States of America. Tesla announced in April that it would build a second massive factory in Shanghai. Musk's extensive business ties to China have raised eyebrows in Washington, with US President Joe Biden saying in November that the executive's links to foreign country were worthy of scrutiny. US House of Representatives passed the rule that outlines the debt ceiling debate on Tuesday as the bill heads to the floor. The voting 7-6, the committee granted the rule for the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023, including 1 hour of general debate. The Democratic President Joe Biden and the Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Sunday signed off an agreement to temporarily suspend the debt ceiling and cap some federal spending in order to prevent a US debt default. The deal, if approved, will prevent the US government from defaulting on its debt and comes after weeks of heated negotiations between Biden and McCarthy. The World Bank on Tuesday said that it approved a $1 billion loan to Kenya to support its budget as the country confronts high debts and a weakening currency. The lending will be done through an instrument called the Development Policy Operations Loan, which commits Kenya to instituting reforms aimed at creating fiscal space and improving agricultural competitiveness and also improving governance. Kenyan President William Ruto, who was elected last year, has pledged to restore fiscal discipline after public debt surged under his predecessor. Kenya's finances have been under strain from rising debt repayments and the effects of the Horn of Africa's worst drought in 4 decades. Tobacco farming is on the rise in Africa despite a growing number of people facing acute food insecurity. According to reports from World Health Organization, there has been nearly 20% increase in tobacco farming in land across Africa since 2005, who also states that more than 1 million children are estimated to be working on these tobacco farms, missing the opportunity for any kind of education. According to reports, Zimbabwe is Africa's largest tobacco producer, with China funding the bulk of production and also procures the lion's share of Zimbabwe's tobacco. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis kicked off his presidential campaign on Tuesday to strengthen his position as former U.S. President Donald Trump's chief Republican rival. In a speech during his first campaign event in Iowa for the 2024 GOP nomination, he called American decline avoidable and offered himself as its alternative. DeSantis, who announced his candidacy last week, unveiled a line of attack aimed chiefly at Democratic President Joe Biden. The appearance came 6 days after his glitchy online campaign announcement that raised questions about his readiness for the national stage. Archaeologists have recently unearthed the skeletons of 2 women and a young child who died from the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Pompeii Archaeological Park says that the first tests done on the site indicate that the child was probably 3 to 4 years old. The skeletons show various signs of trauma, probably from the roof covered with lava falling in on them. In the past 2.5 centuries, some 1,300 victims have emerged from excavations at the Pompeii. Archaeologists are using new technology to discover exactly how they died. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited a steel plant in northern Sweden on Tuesday, touting a global green energy transition in his visit to the Nordic country. Blinken was joined by the Swedish Minister for Energy, Business and Industry and also the EU Commission Executive Vice President. Now, Blinken is in Sweden for the 4th ministerial meeting of the Trade and Technology Council. The gathering in northern Sweden comes just as the European Commission presents its economic security strategy, expected to contain measures to prevent rivals such as China gaining access to its most sensitive technology. The European Union said on Tuesday that it is doubling down its aerial firefighting fleet for the summer of 2023 due to forest fires caused by climate change. EU's Commissioner for Crisis Management expressed that due to a rise in wildfires in Central and Northern Europe, the response management has been scaled up to tackle the wildfires. The EU has said that for the coming wildfire season, firefighting aircraft reserve will include 24 planes and 4 helicopters from 10 member states. Sewage is polluting the crown jewel of England's Lake District. Windermere is England's largest lake and sewage is polluting its waters. UK water companies are barred from dumping untreated wastewater in normal circumstances. They're allowed to make such releases when heavy rains threaten to overwhelm sewage treatment plants. The environmental groups argue that some companies exploit this exception to save money and avoid upgrading their systems. Meanwhile, the UK government says that although the amount of sewage is unacceptable, the lake's waters are safe for swimming. At Kenya's largest rubbish dump, scores of people pick through 2,000 tons of waste a day, looking to resell recyclable items. But much of the waste ends up on the streets and in sewage systems. The United Nations Environment Programme warned that the Dandora dump has posed a serious health threat to those working and living nearby. The dump opened in 1975 and was declared full by public health officials in 2001. It is still in use over 2 decades later, despite a 2021 court ruling ordering its closure within 6 months. Now, a community-based organization called Kibarzani is plastics from dump sites and recycles them into household products. The volunteers collect plastic from their neighborhoods or buy them when there is a shortage. The finished products are sold at a profit.